Hello guys, my name is Ritik Maheshwari and in this video we are going to look quickly into a Python. And in this video we are going to cover these topics, and after watching this video you will be able to write a basic Python programs and you will be able to explore this language more by your own. And if you are new to this channel, then don't forget to click on that subscribe button below for more such informative and useful content in future. So you can download the Python from this site, and I will provide the link of this site in my description too. So if you want to download the Python in your system, you can go in this site and then click on that download button, and you will get the latest version of Python by clicking on this download Python 3.8.5 in your system. So along with this you will also get a PIP package, and what that package means and why it is so useful, we will talk about this in a bit. So after installing Python in your system successfully, you need to install the Jupyter Lab in your system if you want to work over this, because I am going to use the Jupyter Lab in this video, and you will also get a IDLE with the Python. So if for this you need to just type IDLE in your start menu, and you can also code in this IDLE. So that's how it looks like. So you can code in this IDLE too, and if you want to work on a Jupyter Lab, then you can just install the Jupyter Lab by typing a command pip install and Jupyter Lab, and this will going to install the Jupyter Lab in your system. And after installing this Jupyter Lab in your system, you need to run the Jupyter Lab in your system. For that you need to type a command Python -m notebook and just press enter. So that's how the Jupyter Lab looks like. And to create a new file in the Jupyter Lab, you need to type this, you need to click on this new button and then Python 3, and then you are good to go, and you can write up your code here. And to run the code you need to press a shift plus enter, and it will also going to add a extra cell below the current cell. Let's start with creating our first program. So as usual we are going to print the hello world on the screen, and for this we are going to use the print function, which is a built-in function in Python, and we need to pass a string inside the parenthesis. So hello world, and that's it. We don't need to use semicolon at the last. And let's run the cell. So here we have the hello world on our console, and now we will going to discuss about the variable and literals. So I am declaring a as a variable here, and we don't need to specify the data type in Python, and we just need to declare a variable and assign a value to that variable. So I am declaring a variable a here and assigning a value 5 to that variable, and let's print the variable a on the console. So print a and shift enter. So here we have our output 5. That's why Python is so simple to learn. We don't need to specify data type and all in Python, and also we don't need to use the semicolon. And we can also assign string literal to that variable. Suppose I am declaring a same variable a here, and I am assigning the literal as hello. So I am assigning a string literal hello to the variable a, and let's print the a again. So print a, and here we are getting our output as hello. Now some of the common operators we generally deal in Python is arithmetic operators and assignment operators. So arithmetic operators are plus, minus, multiplication, division, flow division, modulo, and square. So let's discuss them about one by one. So I am declaring a two variable x and y here, and assigning x to, value 5 and y value 4. Now let's first print the addition of these two variables. So we just need to type x plus y here, and here we are getting 9. And to find the subtraction, that is the difference between these two variables, we need to just type x minus y, and here we are getting 1. And to find the multiplication between these two variables, we need to use the asterisk sign. So x into y and shift enter. So here we are getting 20, and to find the division of this two variable we need to type x divide by y. So here y is dividing x, and here we are getting 1.25. And another concept is the floor division here. So I am so for floor division we need to use two backslash symbols, and then we will dividing x by y. So what happen in floor division is that it will neglect this 0.25 part, and it will provide only 1 as a output, that is the integer value. And to print the square of any number we need to type double asterisk sign and then x double asterisk y. So here we are what we are doing, we are just doing 5 is 5 to the power 4. That means, so 5 to the power 4 is 625. And to find the modulo here we need to use the percentage sign, so x modulo y. So 5 modulo 4, that is the remainder left after when 5 is divided by 4, that is 1. So here we are getting 1. And we have the assignment operators here. So different assignment operators, like we can use the assignment operator in two ways. Here I am assigning a as a 5, so here equals to is an assignment operator, and I am assigning value 5 to the variable a. And that's, let's print this a, so 5. And we can also use assignment operator like this, a plus equals to 5 plus equals to 5. So what will it do, it will add 5 to the variable a. So let's shift enter. Okay, so I need to use the print a here, so print a and shift enter. So we are getting here 20. Now why we are getting here 20? Because we just run this cell multiple times, that why it add a to the 4 5 times. Now to avoid this confusion, let me assign a new variable value to the variable, that is 5. I am assigning the 5 to the variable b, and I am just using this b plus equals to 5. So it will supposed to print the value of b as a 10. So shift enter. So I am getting the value 10 here. And now we have the we can also take the input from the console, and to take the input from the console we need to use the input method. So I am creating a variable string here, and I want the I need to use the input function here, and inside the input function we need to write whatever we want whatever we want to print on a screen. Suppose I want to print input string here, and that is whatever be that string, I will use that string and print hello and string, the input string here. So let me run this cell. So input string here, so whatever we return inside the input function that will be shown here. And suppose I am provide word as an input, and that's it, we are getting hello world as the output. So in that way we can use the input function here. Suppose but this input function will always take the input in the form of the string. Suppose we want to take integer as a value, so we need to suppose I want the integer as a value. So what we need to typecast the input taken by this input function. Suppose I enter integer, that will be the message print on our console, and I am going to enter the integer as 2. And now let's print this integer here. So print this variable here, because that 2 will be assigned inside this integer, and we are getting 2 here. So that's how we can these are some basic functions and operations that are used in the Python. Now we will talk about the type conversion in the Python. So here I'm assigning value 5 to the variable x and value 6.5 to the variable y. So this 5 is an integer type of the value, and this 6.5 is a float type of a value. So this is known as a comment, and this is also known as a single line comment. So it will not going to affect our program. It is just for the we just use a comment to understand our program. So this x equals we are assigning integer value to the x and float value to the y, and suppose I am declaring a variable sum here, and I am doing x plus y here, and let print the, so sum is a predefined keyword, so we are not supposed to use it, so I am using a sum1 here, and let's print the sum1 here. And so here we are getting 11.5, and if I also print the type of this sum1 here, so this type function is used to print the type of any variable or any structure. So here we have the type as a float. So what Python do, the Python just convert this integer value 5 to the 5.0, that is the float value. So Python just convert the smaller data type to the larger data type in order to avoid the conversion. And we also typecast explicitly anything. So suppose I am using again x as a 5 and I am assigning y as a 6. So here I am assigning integer value in integer literal to the variable x and string literal to the variable y, and let's print the x plus y and see what will be the output. So here we are getting a error, unsupported operand time for plus. So we have so one is an integer kind of the literal and another one is a string type of the literal. That's why the problem is there. So we can explicitly typecast this y to the integer, and let's run this. So here we are getting 11. So one way is the implicit typecasting. So the Python will perform the implicit typecasting, and if you want to perform the and if you want to typecast the variable for our need, we need to use the explicit typecasting. Like I am here typecasting this values variable literal string literal 6 to the integer literal, and then I am adding that literal to the variable x. Let's talk about some common data structure which usually use in the Python, which are list, tuple, dictionary, sets. So we have suppose I am declaring a list 1 here, and we need to use square brackets to declare a list. So here I am declaring a list. So this is now this is an empty list, and we can assign a value to that list like 1 2 3, and let's print this list. So here I am getting the list 1 2 3, and let's see the type of this list1 variable. Type of this list1 variable as, so the type of this list1 variable is a list type variable. So list is not a homogeneous connection of the elements, it is a heterogeneous collection of the elements. That is, we can also use a mixed element in it, that is list2, and I am assigning a heterogeneous element like integer value, and then I am assigning a float value, and then I am assigning a string value to it, and then I am assigning a complex value, suppose 1 plus 2j to it, and that's it. And let's print list 2, and here I am getting my list. So list is an heterogeneous collection of the element, and we can modify list further if we want to, and we have the different operations like append, pop, and multiple operations on the string. And we can also print the specific, suppose I want to access this value 1 here. So the value 1 is at index 0, so the indexing in the list is start from the 0. So the 1 is at index 0, 2.5 is at index 1, hello is at index 2, and 1 plus 2j is at index 3. Suppose I want to print the value which is present at index 2. So let me print the value which is present at index 2, and we just need to use we need to just provide the index value here. So I want to access the value at index 2, and at index 2 we have hello, that is 0 1 and 2. And the second type of the data type we have here is a tuple kind of the value data type. So data structure, so we have, I am defining a tuple 2 here, and generally we use this parenthesis to define a tuple, and this tuple is also a heterogeneous collection of the elements, and suppose 1 2.5 and suppose by. So here I am defining a tuple, and let me print first the type of this tuple 2. variable, and let me print this tuple to there, tuple 2. So here the type of this tuple2 variable is a tuple, and we have this tuple here. And one thing to notice is this, that there is a slight difference between the list and tuple. We can't further modify tuple, that is we can't further add any kind of the value this tuple, and but we can access any element of this tuple by using index value. And as in list, we have learned that the index value start from the 0. So in tuple we have the index value start from 0 also. So the 1 is present at index 0, 2.5 is present at index 1, and by is present at index 2. So here I want to access the element present at index 2, so tuple 2, and I want to access the element present at index 2, and here we have the by. And also we have the different operation on tuple like pop, and we can assign and we can also remove any we can't remove any element from the tuple, but because this is not a we can't modify the tuple further. And the third kind of the data type is dictionary. So dictionary is a collection of the key value pair kind of the element. So let me define a dictionary as a variable, suppose dictionary 2, and we need to use this curly braces to define a dictionary. So suppose I am using a first key, that is first as a key, and I am assigning a 1 in a first. Then I am use a name as a key, and I will assign a name to the key as suppose John. And then I have this, I want to assign the float value, suppose second. I have this second as a key, and I am going to assign this 2.2 to the second. So that's it. This first is a key, so this is a collection of the key value pair, and this is name is a key, and second is also a key, and that key will have the corresponding value. So the first will have 1 as a value, name will have John as a value, and second will have 2.2 as a value. So let me first print the type of this dictionary 2 variable, and then we will going to print this dictionary here. So here we have the type of the dictionary as dict, and we have our dictionary here. Also we can access the any value from this dictionary by using the corresponding key. Suppose I want to access a value present at I want to access the value present at the key name. So I need to specify name here. So sorry, I need to do this as name here, and let me print this. So the corresponding value to the name key is John, and suppose I want to access the dictionary 2 dot suppose I want to access the value present at first. So we are getting 1. And don't confuse, we can also use any kind of the data type here. Suppose at the first, at the place of the first, I want 11 as a key. Okay, so we are getting 11 as a key, and the value 1 is assigned to the 11 key. So we can make any data type as a key, not just a string. But for the better understanding of our code, we generally use a string to create a key. So let's talk about set. So another data structure we use, generally used in the Python, is set. So I'm using a set2 as a variable, and to define a set, we use a curly braces here, and I'm assigning 1 2 3 as a value in the set. And let's print the set, so set2, and let's print the type of this set2. So here we have our set 1 2 3 and class as a set. So one thing to remember here is that set is an unordered collection of the elements. That is, we don't have any kind of the indexing in the sets. Like we can't access any element by using the index in a set. So if I try to use like set2, which is present at the index 0, it will going to throw an error because set object does not support indexing. Okay, so we can't use the indexing in a set, but we can use the another methods like pop and add any element to the set and like this, but we can't perform the indexing on a set. So set is a mutable, that is we can modify set. So remember that list tuple is an ordered collection of the element, that is they supports the indexing. Set is an unordered collection of an element, that is it doesn't supports indexing. And all three are heterogeneous collection of the element, that is we can have the mixed data type elements in it. And among them tuple is not mutable, that is we can't modify tuple and we can't perform different operation, like we can't add any element to the tuple. And dictionary is a key value pair kind of the data structure, so we have the key and corresponding values in the dictionary, so that thing we need to remember here. And let me just cut the cell. And now let's discuss about the range function here. So we have the range function here. So suppose I am declaring a num1 as a variable, and we have the range function, and I am going to use 1 to 6. So what will this range function will do? This range function will assign num1 as 1 2 3 4 5 as a value, but it will not going to include 6 here. So print num1. So okay, so it is range 1 to 6, but if I want to see the output of this range function, we need to typecast it in any data structure. So here it is showing 1 2 3 4 5. And suppose I want to all the odd numbers till 5. For this we need to increment this range by 2 in each loop. So what does it will do? It will just going to provide a 1 3 5. And not only list, we can also print this as a set here, and we can also print it as a tuple here. So 1 3 5 1 3 5. So this is the starting point, this is the ending point, and it will not going to include in range, and this is the incrementation. So after 1 it will take 3. If I use 3 here, so after 1 it will take 4, like this. After 1 it will take 4. So there is a difference of 3 in every value there. So that's how the range function will going to work. We have the different conditional statements like if, else, and elif here. So suppose I have this num1 as a variable again, and I am going to assign the -1 to the num1. And if condition is num1 is greater than 0, so this is known as the relational operator, and this is the if block here. So what we are going to do, if num1 is equals to 0, and we need to use a colon here, and after that if we press enter we get the indentation there. So indentation divides the everything in a block, like we don't have the curly braces in a Python, we just use the indented block to separate each code. So if this happen, then it will going to print positive. And if this is not going to happen, then we have the elif block there. And if num equals to 0, so this is another relational operator, double equals to, which will compare the two values, which is used to compare the two values. So if our num1 is equals to 0, that is if num1 is equals to 0, then it will going to print 0. And then we have the else block. If these two conditions are not satisfied, then the output of this else block will going to execute, that is negative. So our number is either positive or negative or 0. So if we have -1 here, so what how this will going to execute? First this if block will first this if condition will going to check. So if -1 is greater than 0, so that condition is false, so it will going to ignore this block and jump to the elif. And if num1 equals to 0, that is -1 equals to 0, so it will return false. So it will again going to ignore this block, and without checking any condition, it will print the negative. So let's run this. So here we are getting negative. And if I change this value to suppose any kind of the positive value, suppose 5, so I am getting the positive as output. And if I change this value, suppose 0, then I will get 0 as the output. So that's how we can use the if, elif, and else statement in Python. And let's talk about the loops here. So we have the while loop and we have the for loop. So first talk about the for loop here. So suppose I'm going to use the for loop here and I want to print the values from 1 to 6. So for this I need to use this for keyword for I in, and we talk about that range function above for I in range, and I want to print the value from 0 to 6. So I need to use the 7 here. So I need to use the 7 here, and it will going to ignore 7, and in each loop it will automatically increment the I by 1. So I will print the I here. So let's run this. So I am getting this 0 1 2 3 4 5 6. Now suppose I want to take a increment of 2 in each loop, then I will going to use this use 2 as a third argument, and we are getting increment of 2 in each loop, that is 0 2 4 6. So first is the starting point, second one is the ending point, and this ending point will not going to include, and we are having this 2 here, that is in each loop the value will be increment by 2. And let's talk about that. If we have any kind of the suppose data structure here, suppose list, so my list, and it will I'm going to 1 2 3 and again value is hello. So and I want to print all the values of this list one by one, so I can again use this for loop for I in my list. We don't need to use the range function here, and just print I here. So I am getting all the values one by one here. So what will whatever be the length of this my list, it will going to print the each element till then. So it will going to print 1 2 3 and hello here. Now let's talk about the while loop. So suppose I want to print the sum of the numbers till 5. For this I am declaring num as a I am declaring initial value of I as a 0, and suppose initial value of someone is also a 0, and the condition will be while I is less than equals to 5. That means this while loop will continue to execute till this condition is satisfied, that is I is less than equals to 5, and I'm going to someone plus equals to I. It means someone equals to someone plus I, and after each loop I will going to increment this I by 1. So I plus equals to 1, and at last I will going to print the value of the someone. So it will going to add, so in the first execution of this loop it will going to add 0 to the someone, then in second execution of this loop it will add 0 plus 1, then in third loop it will going to add 1 plus 2, and like this. So at last it will print the someone. So this someone will contain the summation of all the values till 5. Let's print this. So here we are getting 15. So that's how we can use the while loop. So in while loop we need to increment the value explicitly. It don't have any default kind of the concept here. And let's talk about the function in Python. So in Python we generally use def keyword to define a function, and suppose I am defining a function addition here, and it will going to take a 2 arguments, suppose x comma y, and we need to use this semicolon. So this semicolon will going to generate an indented block because we don't have the concept of the curly braces here, and this function will going to return the sum of x plus y, and that's it. We don't need to write a return keyword here, or we don't need to define any kind of the return data type in our function definition like we generally do in other languages like C, C++, and Java. We just need to return the type, return the value we want this from this function. And suppose I want to then to call this function, we need to use the function name here, and suppose I want to pass the argument as 2 comma 4, and that's it. Here we are getting 6. So that's how we can define a function here. So we need to use just def keyword and then function name and the argument and the arguments, and then whatever be the value it will going to return, and whatever be the operation it will going to perform. And also like this we can again define any function like this. Suppose I want to define a function as check, and it will go to, so suppose I am defining a function check, and it will going to take only a single argument x here. And suppose I have this concept here: if x is greater than y, then it will return a string x is greater than y. And if this doesn't happen, then there is another elif block, that is if x equals to y, then this will going to return x equals to y. And else the third block, that is it will going to return x is less than y. And that's it. And if I print this, and I will call this check function, and okay, x is greater than y, so it will supposed to accept the two argument here, that is x comma y. Sorry for this. And suppose I am providing 2 and 5 here value, so this 2 will be going to assign in the argument x, and this 5 will going to assign in the argument y, and it will return some result here. So x is less than y because 2 is less than 5. And if we have 2 here, then x equals to y because x is equals to y. And if we have suppose 1 here, so x is greater than y. So that's how we can use the function here. And there is a concept of the lambda function too. So that lambda function is a single value function. Suppose I am defining a function name here addition, and we don't need to use the def here, and this addition will go, and we need to use the lambda as a keyword here. And this lambda function will going to take the two argument x and y here. And what it will going to return, it will going to return the summation of x plus y here. And we just need to call the addition function here, this addition function here. So let me name it as addition 1 so that we can't confuse from above one. So this addition 1 function here, and we need to pass the argument suppose 2 comma 5 here, and that's it. We are getting 7 as the output. So this lambda function is only used when we have a single statement inside the function block. So we need to just have a single statement, that is x plus y. That's why we are going to use this lambda function, and this is more simpler way of using a function here. And let's talk about some oops concepts. So we have the oops concepts of oops like class and objects here. So if you are not familiar with the oops, you can watch any video on YouTube. We have multiple videos. There are thousands of videos regarding the oops concept on YouTube. And to define any class, we just need to use the class keyword here. And this class, suppose this class name, I'm going to use this class name as student, and this class will have a function, any function. Suppose whatever be the function name, and again we are going to use this check function here. So what this check function will going to do, this check function will going to check whether the student is pass or fail on the basis of their marks. So it will going to take the marks as an argument. And so we are again having the if condition here. So if marks is greater than 33, then it will going to return pass, and else it will going to return fail. So so else it will going to return fail. And so this class student is having a single function, that is check, and it will going to check whether the student is pass or fail. And to call this student class, we need to first create an object. So I am creating a object, so I am declaring a variable, suppose obj. And to create an object of this class, we need to just use the class name and the parenthesis, that is a student. And to call that function, we need to use the object of that class, and then the function name, that is a check, and provide argument here, suppose 55. So 55 is definitely a greater than 33. So if we run this cell, So let me check. So let me write inside the print function here. So whatever be the written by the check will going to print on a console. So here is a check. Okay. So forgive me, because we need to use the self as a first uh, argument in this check function. So this self represent a current object. That's why we need to use the self as a first argument in the function, and then the second argument will be received from this. But here we are supposed to pass a single argument, that is 55. So if I use this, so it is returning a pass here. And if I pass suppose 30, so 30 is definitely a fail, so it will going to return a fail here. Now there is a concept of the constructor in the oops. So I'm going to copy this entire class here, and let me paste it. Suppose I want to assign a value to the marks. Suppose I have this marks as a variable here, and this marks has initial value as a 0, and that constructor, so to define a constructor we need to use this def, and we need to use this double underscore sign and init, and it will going to take a argument, suppose self and marks here, and this self and marks here. So and this self will going to represent the current object, therefore self dot marks, and whatever be the marks we have here. So to avoid this confusion, let me just make it as marks 1. So marks 1, and that's it. So and I'm not going to pass any kind of the value here, so I'm going to use self dot marks here, that is the marks assigning to a particular object. And to call this, we will do the same thing. I am creating object 1 here, and that object and calling this object as student, and I'm going to as a constructor is a first function which will going to execute, and that will execute by default. So we need to pass a variable here, suppose 35. So the constructor will going to execute, so that constructor will, this 35 will going to assign inside this marks 1, and this marks 1 will going to assign in this marks. So this function will call for the particular object, and if I need to call the check function here, and this check function will not going to take any kind of the argument here, because it is going to execute for the particular object 1 here. And if I print this, and let me print this, so it is showing pass. Now suppose we have another student, suppose object 2, and let me just for better understanding, student 2, and let me just assign that student as a 55 as a value, and let me just print this object dot check again, and I have this student 3 here, and this student 3 is again going to have I'm again going to call this student method here. So we have the 3 different object, and for 3 different object we have the 3 different marks, suppose 21, and let me print this again. So change this to student 2, because we are going to execute this check method for the student 2, and I'm going to execute this check method for the student 3. So here we have this 3 objects. So what we are going to do, this object 1 is nothing but, for the better understanding, let me just name is as student 1, and let me just name is as a student 2. So we have the 3 different students here, which are nothing but the instance of this student class, and this 3 different students have the 3 different marks, that is 35, 55 and 21, and we don't need to pass the argument explicitly. So we are calling the this check method for the student 1, then I am calling this check method for the student 2, and then I am calling this check method for the student 3. So the first 2 students are the pass, and the last one is fail according to our condition. Let me do this. So pass and fail. So that's how you can use the class and object concepts for better optimization of the code. And here we have the concept of the constructor. So the constructor is nothing but an init function here, and constructor is the first function which will going to execute in any when we are going to create an object of a class, and that constructor will execute by default in in the initial stage of the class, and that constructor will we have one or more constructor in a single class, and it is depend upon the type of the argument that the compiler will going to decide on which construction will it will going to execute, and that concept is known as the constructor overloading. But here I am but we here we are discussing a common syntax of the Python, so I am not going over a oops concept which are used in the Python. You can find the multiple videos on YouTube which will going to teach you the oops concept. So if you watched this video completely, then definitely you understood the basic concepts of the Python and some basic syntax of the Python, and you are now you have a sufficient knowledge to explore this language by your own, and that's the motto of this video session, because in this video session I didn't cover Python completely, but I provide my best so that you can understand the basic syntax of the Python and you become self-sufficient to understand the Python or explore about this language more. So that's it for this video. If you found this video useful, then do click on that like button, and if you are new to this channel, don't forget to click on that subscribe button below. And if you like this video and found this video useful, also share this video with your friends.